Alright, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Call meeting to order. You want to rise, pledge allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Alderman Bradford. Here. Alderman O. Alderman Bell.
Here.
Alderman Volkart.
Here.
Alderman Lewis. Here. And Alderman Wilson. Approval of October 4th, 2022 meeting minutes. Can I get approval for that, please?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Special items, Ashland Betterment Coalition.
Hello, I'm Izzy Smith. I'm a realtor here in town and also the Vice President of the Ashland Betterment Coalition. I'm here tonight because you guys have not had an update on what we have going recently, so I just wanted to come and kind of reintroduce some of the projects we're working on and progress we've made. So I just have a quick overview. I won't take too much of your time. And if you have questions, you can feel free to stop me. So first off, we have officially adopted an area of town that is considered our district. At some point, we're going to name that as we get further. So it goes from McDonald's to Trail Boss, and then basically the triangle between Main Street and Broadway. So that's the territory that we're focusing on. Our mission is the Downtown Ashland Betterment Coalition, which you maybe have seen it called ABC, will use existing educational and economic resources as well as new opportunities to foster sustainable economic growth and help develop and diversify a vibrant mix of businesses and entertainment options while encouraging community interaction. So our vision is to encourage a diverse, family-oriented commercial environment that promotes the Ashland downtown as a place to live, shop, and play. So we are doing our best to work with the Southern Boone Economic Development and Chamber to all work towards the common goal of bettering Ashland without reinventing the wheel. So our goal is to help continue promoting the businesses and encourage use of those businesses, but mostly to help beautify the area that they exist in, to hopefully then encourage new businesses to want to be a part of that district. Some events that we have done in the past and been working on, so we're only about a year old if some of you guys are new to hearing about this. We hosted the 4th of July parade the last summer. We had a really good turnout and really good feedback, and we're planning to do that again in the future. We have established our group and a board. We have a couple of different terms that are set up for the board, and that's going really well. We have attended Mid-Missouri Main Street trainings, which is part of the consulting group that the city had gotten the grants to pay for. So we've been attending those, and we've actually sent someone to a regional conference in Kansas City to kind of be involved with that, and we have another one coming up this winter that we're planning to send someone to. And then we also have been hosting monthly meetings, which are the first Wednesday of every month at 8:30 here in the city building, but in the community room. So those are open meetings. We encourage anyone who is interested in what we're doing or wants to be involved to join us. An upcoming event, which you maybe have seen on social media and possibly around town, we're still working on hanging flyers, is the Taste of Ashland event. This is going to be a fundraiser for our first project. Being a new group, we are just starting to get our account established and get some money to begin projects to show some of the beautification efforts that we're going to do. The flyer I'll leave here with the basic information. It is the 29th of October, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It'll kind of be a scavenger hunt / choose your own adventure around town. that we have prize donations for and are going to try to encourage, again, people visiting and using our downtown area. So the first project we have on the list is to have 10 planters in the downtown district. We are working with, in any event, the FFA and other community volunteers to get those materials donated, as well as the logistics of those happening. We don't have an exact plan for how we're going to place those. 10 just seems like an attainable number for us to start with and keep obtained throughout the year. That's something that we've really focused on as we've been making this plan, because we think it's important that they're maintained so they don't turn into an eyesore. So we're still working towards that, but that's going to be our first project. Our future ideas include a community board, which we've had ideas from other communities, and it's basically just a board for promotion of events happening around town. It's an outdoor thing. That's very futuristic, so just something we've come up with. We've discussed partnering with Small Business Saturday to help them grow that and, again, encourage use of our downtown area. The more people are using the downtown area, the more they're going to be encouraged to be involved and help fund these projects that we have planned. We're working on potentially planning a Christmas activity and fundraiser, maybe with the park board. We're still working on that, and our time is kind of becoming slim, so we don't know if we'll get that planned for this year, but hope to include that kind of project in the coming years. Again, we're going to do the 4th of July parade again, and we're also open to any community input. I know Mayor Slinker plans on coming to a meeting and giving some ideas, but as you guys hear things around the community and feedback, we would love to hear those and get more ideas, because we're trying to keep our drawing board very open so that we can tend to what the community wants to see. Things that I would like to put in your guys' mind to think of, or things we might need. We would like to have a city liaison that comes to meetings. Doesn't necessarily have to be a board member, but just so we can keep that communication open here. Donations for planters, so if you guys know of any businesses who are looking for beautification projects around town and somewhere to put their money, we're looking for that, for materials and for volunteers to help that project move along. Also, as way long time ago you guys talked about maybe delegating some funds for a paid position. Just want to keep that on your guys' agenda, because that's not something we've given up on. It's just something that we know that we need to really get everything nailed down for logistics to make that happen and make sense for everybody. And then lastly, any volunteers, if any of you would like to volunteer. It doesn't necessarily have to be a board member position or coming to every meeting. It could be a skill that you have that you could offer for a couple hours once a month or something like that. We're open to any of that.
Any questions for Izzy? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll move on to appointments and boards and commissions. Katie Barman, Planning and Zoning Commission. Katie is here tonight. You want to come on up and tell us a little bit about yourself, Katie?
Okay, I don't know how to. Hi, I'm Katie. I've lived in Ashland for a little over a year and a half, but I've been involved in the community for about 5-6 years in various ways. Just my husband works at Ashland in the Connections Bank, so I've kind of gotten involved in the community through that. I did politics while I was in college, working for a state representative for 2 years. I did a lot of committee meetings and helping in the St. Charles community, so I loved that. I wanted to get into that, so this is where I figured I could put that passion into, and that's why I'm starting to join TV.
Well, welcome. We'll be pointing her to the P&Z board.
Okay, do I need
Any questions or any comments?
Yeah.
Thank you, Katie.
Motion to approve.
Motion to.
Make the motion to approve her,
Thank you. Can I have a
appoint her
second?
to the board.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Scheduled public comments, none. Just a reminder that any public comment needs to be received by the city clerk by Wednesday before the meeting date. Public hearing, annexation of the voluntary annexation of 9.82 acres located on 10501 South Hardwick Lane for Integrated Facility Services Incorporated. Staff report.
You have findings memo included in your report. This will carry forward should the ordinance come before the board. We'll include this with it as well. Kind of gives you the details on this particular property. IFS does large-scale commercial HVAC mechanical contracting, design, implementation, maintenance, whole kit and caboodle as it relates to large-scale mechanical projects. So they are looking to expand their current facility. They don't have a definitive timeline on that. They're doing some initial conceptual design at this point. But as part of that, they've recognized that they'll eventually need to abandon their existing on-site wastewater and connect to city sanitary. So as part of that, they're getting ready for that planned expansion by proposing this voluntary annexation. And I don't believe we have anyone here to represent the project.
Yes, that's the Law and Order theme song.
That's well.
If you're a prosecutor, what else would you have?
Any questions for staff? We get a motion?
There's no motion here.
No
Just
motion.
open a public hearing for comment.
Any comments from public? Introductions, first readings. Council Bill number 2022-023, an ordinance revising and amending the city ordinance regarding home occupation previously tabled. Staff report, please.
Yeah, so I was unable to go to the P&Z meeting. I understand they took it back up. A lot of input from P&Z, a lot of changes. As I see it, and as is abundantly clear, the recommendation from P&Z is a more faithful following of the statute, I think is a good way to put it. My only observation here, there is one item that they didn't like. It says, does not cause a substantial increase in traffic through the residential area. That particular provision in the statute itself, which is 71.990, I don't know that you absolutely have to put it in there, but the statute does actually say that itself. That's not something that we came up with, so go ahead.
I attended the meeting.
Yeah.
And the main objection to that is, how do you define substantial increase? That was, you know, if you have such an ambiguous statement, how do you enforce that? Or, you know, who makes that call?
The statute doesn't say. It's one of my complaints with the statute. I like the sentiment, right? You have an in-home business that might cause a traffic problem, but the statute doesn't say what substantial is. It doesn't give any parameters. I'm not insisting that has to be in there. I just want to draw everyone's attention to the fact that particular thing is not something that Nathan and I cooked up. That's in the original statute. If you all want to remove it, I think that's not a crazy objection. I don't think that's a crazy concern. Although, as I say, I do like the sentiment of, if somebody puts a Starbucks in the neighborhood and there's 50 cars, but you're going to have a difficult time with the ambiguity and the vagueness. So.
But Starbucks wouldn't meet the criteria for this ordinance anyway.
And if you had 50 cars, they'd be violating like a whole bunch of other traffic and parking ordinances.
So with that particular point, I guess the question would be, does the board desire us to attempt to define it, or do we just want to remove that one? None of the other recommendations from P&Z cause any heartburn, I don't think.
So if we had a home-based business that created some traffic issues in a subdivision, do we have some other way of handling that currently? You know, if we did not, what would we do?
Depends on if they're violating any traffic code that's on the books or parking ordinance that's on the books.
So if you have the model traffic code, and I'm sure you do, I would say there's not great tools for addressing that. Again, the scenario is somebody
I don't
had...
think that statement in there is going to be a great tool to address it either. Like you said, it's too ambiguous.
Yeah, no. So, and I don't want to...
You're just saying it gives it a little bit of teeth to...
I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew it was in the original statute.
We've got a couple of members of P&Z.
And
Did I miss anything? You know, can I get your input on...
So,
wasn't that the main concern that it was...
yeah, ultimately, most of the concerns that we came up after rereading, after making the correction that we talked on the first reading, was just some of the ambiguity in the gray area, like for the occupancy of a home. We were like, well, that's fine, but what defines occupancy. It's not like a commercial building where you have so many square foot per person. We don't have that for residential, so it just gave a situation that we thought would be a problem where someone at the city could basically decide what they felt was unnecessary. So that's the whole part that came up and then started that conversation, and we thought, there's nothing in our traffic code that says anything. If it is part of it, that's fine, of the original statute, I just don't see the point in having it. If we have no way to say it, it just kind of adds another place for a neighbor to just be mad at another neighbor. And I don't see the point. So.
And again, I appreciate the insight, and I don't want to go 10 rounds about this, so if their recommendation is to omit that, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. That's fine. And it wouldn't hurt my feelings to put this particular topic to bed, quite frankly. And that's not a reflection on anybody else. I mean, it's been a long road on this one.
Any other questions?
Just as a point of order, the motion will need to reflect adoption or inclusion of P and Z's recommendations, just so the minutes accurately reflect.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions about any of the other changes there? If you jump down to H, that was the ambiguity of that was the total number of persons in the home shall not exceed the maximum occupancy of the residency. Well, I don't believe we have a maximum occupancy number anywhere in the city, so that's why that was correct.
And the only other correction that I saw was at the very end, I believe it was just talking about coming to the planning and zoning. That's just going to the wrong board.
For the conditional use.
Instead of, because I think it was talking about getting a variance or something like that. That's got to go to Board of Adjustments, not planning and zoning. It doesn't come to us.
I'd like to make a motion to accept this with the changes recommended by planning and zoning.
Second.
So that's the second?
Alderman Bradford? Aye. Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Wilkart?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Motion carries. Council Bill numbers 2022-027, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Missouri, amending the ward boundaries of the City of Ashland, Missouri. Staff report, please.
So probably about a year ago, whether it be by board direction or city staff, the RPC was asked to take a look at the ward maps and do an update since we had the certified census data back. That's usually about the time that the city tries to amend that ward map and stay on top of it every 10 or so years as the city grows, assuming there's large amount of growth occurring across the ward. So obviously we had some monumental growth over the last 10 years, and that was a pretty heavy population shift in certain wards. So as part of that, RBC took a look at the ward map. They tried to make some adjustments based off census tract data to try and keep those wards equally balanced between about 1,500 and 1,600 people. So you have that proposal in front of you. This is kind of the second or third iteration as we had to make some tweaks just due to timing. We obviously wanted to make sure that no sitting elected official would lose a seat. That kind of poses a pretty dramatic problem if we end up doing that, because the second we would approve an updated map, they would be kicked from the seat, and we'd have to go, publish and try and hire someone to fill that vacancy. So
I want to interject here the cardiac arrest that occurred, and there was a concern that might have happened. Whoever drew an early version of this map failed to account for where you all live. You would think that would be high on the list of things to check on. That aside,
more specifically, they failed to account for Melissa.
I'm okay with that. I'd love to see that
So
version.
the draft you have in front of you kind of meets that, like I said, that 1,500 to 1,600 per ward. In terms of timing, there's never necessarily an ideal time to do this, but we're in a position, since they just got it to us within the last handful of weeks, that we could theoretically get an update passed, approved, and to the county to take into account the filing periods for the April election, obviously we won't get something changed, and it doesn't necessarily matter from a ward map perspective for the November election, but for April, we can get this in place before the filing window opens in December, if the board desires to move forward with it. If not, or if we want to make some drastic changes to it, it's best tabled for a bit, probably until at least after the April election, and then we can bring it back up, take a look at who's sitting at the table here, see if we need to make further changes to it, and then, again, kind of push it to adopt after that election.
The only question I have is just out of curiosity, is how long do they think this is gonna last? I mean, do they try to, like, get it a little...
So, the other thing that I asked them to do, and as you likely notice, is I asked them to expand the ward map beyond existing corporate limits. That way, some of the known projects that we have, whether it be the Welch property or anything along the 63 corridor, like IFS for an example, that automatically falls within the correct ward, so that we don't have to, in the next 3 years, pick this back up unless there's some drastic projects occurring that we didn't contemplate.
Open to comments here. When I look at particularly Ward 3, I'm guessing that everything east of Main Street, you know, it looks like that's actually extended hours on the south of Broadway all the way to the highway. Although those are not real highly populated areas, you know, because, you know, the bulk of Broadway itself is business. I know previously we had, you know, probably about three or four blocks
up to Henry Clay.
Yeah, up to Henry Clay. So that actually got extended.
Well, somebody's gonna get a weird piece right there, no matter what I think.
Yeah, well,
Ward 1 used to be like one side of the street.
And I'm just wondering, is the reason for that
the other thing that's considered, not only once they reach that 1,500 to 1,600, is to start looking at the median household income as well and try and get an even blend there. So if you consider, you know, Broadway corridor, that's where some of our oldest housing stock is. You can assume some retirees or some rentals where you likely have a lower household income as well.
Okay, so that's
achieve that blend as well.
That helped to adjust that, because if we were just looking at numbers, you know, that probably in the next few years, Ward 3 has got a higher likelihood of growth, population-wise, with Liberty North still developing and the other possible subdivisions. So it would have made a lot cleaner line right there along Main.
Correct.
Not that I'm trying to get rid of anyone on the east side of Main or anything like that, but.
Yeah, they'll remember that. From election time.
Any other questions? Can we get a motion to approve table?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second. Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Volkart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
And Alderman Old?
Aye.
And Alderman Bradford?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I guess that was a question I should have asked before we voted, but, and maybe it says in here, when does this take effect?
So we'll obviously have the next reading on this, and this will be in place in time for the December 5th or 6th filing window for the April election.
Okay.
So we've already been in contact with the county, with their GIS and the elections office to pull the necessary data to update voter rolls and send out updated voter cards to those impacted by the change.
Any other questions, Mr. Lewis?
No.
Going on to old business. Ordinance number 1414, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into MoDOT fund program agreements through table. Staff report, please.
James is not here. You have his report in the packet. Just in addition to that, we have a MOU that we have drafted between the city, YMCA, and the school district. Both of those entities have approved that MOU, so we'll bring that back around for final approval by the board, just stipulating when we expect them to contribute their cost share to the project. and the expectations of all parties involved there. Specifically, as it relates to the Y, as we anticipate through the bidding process that there may be overages, and just making the Y abundantly aware that they may have additional costs beyond their initial quote that we used for the purpose of this grant. So everything squared away there. I believe James facilitated the necessary changes that Melissa raised with the actual grant acceptance.
He did, and I appreciate that.
So we should be in a position to move this forward now.
Any questions for staff? No sidewalk for you?
On that note, I will say that MoDOT stipulated, should we come in under budget, we can add to that, so that's not saying your sidewalk is necessarily off the table. You just have to.
Is it first in line? Is that an agreement?
2 more years?
Not a guarantee, but I'm not saying it's completely dead.
Okay.
Consider it that, because it's not likely that sidewalk jobs come under budget.
Hope springs eternal.
Can I get a motion to approve ordinance number 1414?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Bradford?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
No.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ordinance number 1416, ordinance revising and amending the city's ordinance regarding home occupancy.
So again, just make sure that the motion indicates that we will be incorporating those changes indicated by P&Z.
Can I get a motion approving ordinance number 1416 with the changes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
Alderman Bocart?
Aye.
Alderman Bell?
Aye.
Alderman Old?
Aye.
Alderman Bradford?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business, we have none. Moving on to reports. Mayor's report, I only have 2 things. I would like to thank James for fixing the heave on Justin Lane, duly noted. A lot of residents over there said it was nice work done and didn't disturb traffic that much. And October...
Skateboard ramp.
Yeah, the second one. Spooktacular, October 31st at Optimus, 5 to 7, approximately about 500 kids. If you're not doing anything on October 31st, come out and join us. That's my report. City Administrator.
Just an update on the Tyler Tech transition. So we're live with a few of the things, and they're primarily as it relates to Shelley's day-to-day operations. So, for example, she was working late tonight processing payroll through the new accounting software. About the only thing that we won't be going live with quite yet is the utility billing process. So the utility billing process takes a little bit longer. That's something that will be rolled out as we move into the 2023, but we're slowly going to start transitioning all daily operations over to the new accounting software. Our front desk staff has already started to take building permit payments and whatnot through the new software, so they can start learning that through some on-the-job training is there as well, in addition to their computer-based training that we've been doing the last few months. So that's pretty much it with that project. We've had some of the staff start entering their monthly bills or their weekly bills into the new accounting software as well, so a little bit of a learning experience there. For the most part, everyone seems fairly excited just because it's much more robust than our current software package that we're sunsetting, and it's going to give our department heads a lot more intimate access to their financial data on a day-to-day basis, so they're all quite excited about that. Other than that, I don't think I have necessarily anything to report that isn't covered in James or Darren's report here, so happy to answer any questions on their behalf as well when we get to it.
Any questions for Kyle? Have we heard anything on Nextrise? I mean, what's the scuttle? What are they doing?
Going to trade shows and trying to sell Ashland. I mean, I know we've talked about this briefly in the past, but I don't know if I were in your position that I would necessarily get too excited about them potentially selling Ashland, because there's a cost associated with that, and I don't know that anyone here has necessarily considered that cost. So At this point, they don't have any leads. As the last I talked to them, it's been about a month now. They are focusing primarily on, obviously the national franchise, which, thankfully we were able to get Taco Bell without their assistance, Scooters without their assistance. They are looking at trying to find some smaller clothing retailers. They think that based off of the analytics that they've seen, that would be a strong fit for Ashland. And then obviously going after, again, additional restaurants or other national retail brands that would be, something that would look at a town of 5,000 with the proximity to both Columbia and Jeff City and the amount of people in that metro area. So that's about it on them.
With the data they provided with us, are we able to take that data and give it to the real estate?
Yep, so I've reported on that data to the Southern Boone Economic Development Council twice now. We've had discussions around that data. I've shared it with a few potential developers that are looking at Ashland. I share it with, anyone that necessarily comes asking for it that would benefit from the data. So just a note on their data, they get all of their analytics from Placer.ai, which is an analytics firm. So effectively what our annual contribution to them is helping them afford that very expensive contract that they have with Placer.ai to get that analytic data. And I know we've kind of talked at the Economic Development Council about like traffic study data, for example. So the data that they're looking at is based off of cell phone data, so their traffic counts are through the roof compared to MoDOT's traffic counts. So that's very valuable information as we look at potential projects along the Broadway corridor or talk with potential developers for certain pieces of real estate that we can have, more robust data than what the most recent MoDOT traffic study has to say, for example.
Thank you. Moving on to City Attorney's report.
At the risk of being mysterious, I did a lot of legal work for you all today that I can't tell you about. I will probably have a closed session at the next meeting, but progress was made, good news. I hope that we'll tell you all about it at the next meeting. Thanks.
Public Works Supervisor's monthly report, he's not here.
In the packet, can answer any questions best of my ability if you have any.
Any questions? Community Development monthly report.
Also in the packet. Only big things there, Taco Bell's on track. I don't know if they gave us an explicit date, they just said by end of year. So, they're trending well. I think things are picking back up with Scooters. They had some equipment backlog they had ordered, so I think they're obviously out there working, and that's good news for us. I think by end of year, they're probably looking to be open as well, but more to follow on that as we continue to talk to them.
Have they mentioned what they're doing with the other building on that property?
So actually, Darren talked to the ownership today. They didn't really necessarily have explicit plans for it. They intended to lease it, and we actually had a potential business looking for space that we referred to them. So I think they're meeting on site tomorrow to look at the space. So it's going to help them try and fill it if we can. I think his initial plan was just to use it for dry storage for Scooters, since that's a pretty small building, but hopefully we can find him a tenant.
Be helpful. Moving on to Board of Alderman report. Alderman Old.
No report.
Alderman Bell.
No report.
Alderman Lewis.
Don't have anything?
Alderman Wilson.
No report.
Alderman Bradford.
Nothing.
And Alderman Wolcott.
Okay, you always put just a quick question, but since James and Darren aren't here, is there any, so like with Perry Avenue extension, are the time frames for Rankin and the Perry Avenue, are they still lined up, or is there going to be a time where Rankin's ready and the road's not?
No. So, the street's going to be done well before Rankin is done at this point. The plans for Perry Avenue extension are with MoDOT for review and approval right now. They also need some EDA approval. Once those approvals are granted, we can move through the bidding process. So we anticipate before the end of the year we'll have that project bid still. Once bid, it's a 90-day construction, so it just depends on what the weather looks like over the winter months. If they can construct throughout winter, it'll be done by spring break. If not, it might lag a few months behind that.
What's the time frame on Rankin
They still envision having class in session next fall. Nothing, I mean, and this is coming from the Eagle Foundation and the fundraising team, not necessarily ranking themselves, so construction's progressing according to schedule, so.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
That's all you got? You sure? All right.
Don't give me a chance to think about it.
Move on, general comment from public. Any comments? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that
Oh,
motion.
one more thing, it wasn't in my report, but I would, last time, we kinda did a redux of like events before the next Alderman meeting, and I would like to, it was helpful, I think.
You just need to have that be your report every month. and that'd be
That's
good.
not my report, that's all of
Did
our
you
reports.
notice that Ernie put in the paper by week?
Yeah, I like that, he's starting to do that, that is helpful.
So,
But is there anything else? And then the only other thing in looking at the Public Works report and and I'm sure the chamber will be on top of this, but like obviously we wanna make sure those ribbon cutting dates are set quite out in advance, even like for the ball fields. I mean, we should celebrate our wins for sure. And so we've got a lot of new stuff coming, so I don't really think that's on our, I think the chamber does that. The ball fields we might have to initiate, but.
Yeah, so what we've been doing, just so everyone has the information and is getting the same information, is making sure they get Darren's report.
Okay,
So that's been helpful.
okay. So then,
And
are there,
did you put the Taste of Ash one on the calendar?
did I or can I?
Did you?
It's on there.
Okay,
Yeah.
just check.
Sounds tasty.
This picture bingo.
Can't wait till it's Mexican pizza, the taste of that.
any other questions or comments?
Are there any other major events for the next board meeting?
So, we're working on, I don't know if I can pull the draft up here or not, of the newsletter that'll go out with the bills, and I know we put a few events on there that are pretty good of the order here, so give me 1 second. See if I can.
Yeah, maybe for the last, and she's still interrupted.
Sorry.
Yeah, start putting her at last.
All right, I'll do it.
I think we should make this a regular agenda item.
I think you're right, too. I agree with you on that one.
So I think the only big ones I put on there were the picture bingo, and then the DA Drug Take Back Day was October 28th from 10 to 1 at the police department. Candidate filing for the April election opens on December 6th, runs through the 27th.
Oh, yeah, we should.
There's a few other ones on here, let me find them real quick. There we go. Christmas parade,
Yes.
December 2nd, I believe is what they're planning.
December,
Second?
is it normally on Friday?
No, usually on Saturday.
That is the date I was provided with, I'll confirm it.
First Friday.
First
First
Friday.
Friday in
they told me.
December.
And then James, I know this was brought up at the last meeting, but James did confirm the additional dumpster for the holidays, so more will come once we have an explicit delivery date on that. That's all I have.
Now, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Time to go home.